Hi everyone, this is Rebecca Levy with you, and we're about to start our final webinar for the season. This is our GYSD Sustainability, Ready to Launch to GYSD and Beyond webinar. So my name is Rebecca Levy and I'm the Manager of Global Partnerships here at YSA. I'm originally from Colorado and my background is in business administration and entrepreneurship and management. Before coming to YSA, I was working in southern Morocco as a Peace Corps volunteer where I did youth development and small business development. If you have any questions after this webinar, feel free to email me at rlevy@ysa.org and you can follow me at Twitter at RebeccaLevy999. So tonight we have two great presenters with us. First we have Luther from Liberia. Luther is an Atlas Corps Technology for Development Fellow serving at Creative Associates International. Luther provides support to the Technology for Development T4D unit at Creative Associates International, which is responsible for incubating new ideas of how to use technology interventions. Learning about the development and application of the latest information and communication technologies for development and contributing innovative ideas are his two key missions at Creative. Luther has 5 years of experience in the nonprofit sector and ICT 4D and earned a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology. He has stayed close to the sector for a little over 8 years now. In his most recent capacity at iLab Liberia as the Director of Training, he and his team provided more than 3,500 Liberians and foreign nationals the opportunity to use iLab's computer lab and gain new technology skills. Previously, Luther worked as training director as Ishuhidi Liberia, a nonprofit tech company that specializes in developing free and open source software for information collection, visualization, and interactive mapping. Luther served as an exemplary leader in the Liberian ICT community in Liberia and partnered with the United Nations, the government of Liberia, NGOs, and civil society on using mapping technology and processes to map the conflict and instability in Liberia. The 2011 national elections, peace-building efforts, and most recently the Ebola epidemic. Luther is passionate about using technology for social change, particularly in areas of using geospatial tools to create a better world. So we're very excited to have Luther with us. He's very knowledgeable in the field, and he'll be talking a little bit more about a Creative Mapper project. And there is his email address on the screen, lutherj@creativedc.com or luther.jeke@atlascorps.org. Additionally, we have Jane, who is a senior at D.H. Conley High School in Greenville, North Carolina. She was selected as the 2015-2016 North Carolina Ambassador for the NCAM program with Youth Service America. She is a student advisory board member of an organization called Love a Sea Turtle and developed the River Guardians After School Club program for her passion for drinking clean water and ocean conservation. Her initiative is described as a sustainable program that will continue to grow even after she graduates from high school. Jane plans to attend the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and major in public health with an ultimate goal to work for the United Nations, helping to end the world water crisis. Also very excited to have Jane with us tonight. So in addition, if you're on Twitter with us tonight, we have Atlas Corps following us as well and hopefully asking some questions and responding to you out there. So make sure to use the hashtag GYSD to share any questions or ask any questions that you may have. And we also have the Twitter handles of our panelists. We have @Yoon_Jane, my Twitter handle, and then also Luther's Twitter handle. And then here at YSA, we are @YouthService. So Atlas Corps facilitates fellowships between the best global rising leaders and U.S. organizations addressing social issues. Fellows volunteer at organizations for 12 to 18 months and are enrolled in an ongoing training program. Recently, we launched a State Department partnership as one of the White House initiative to engage 100 civil society leaders in our Emerging Global Leaders Initiative, Atlas Corps Fellowship. You can find out more at their website, which is www.atlascorps.com. I know here at YSA we've had an Atlas Corps Fellow about 5 years ago, which was a great experience, as well as Luther, who is on this webinar tonight, is an Atlas Corps Fellow. So a little bit about what we're going to cover today. We're going to kind of talk about some last-minute to-dos. I know a lot of you are eagerly waiting and planning your GYSD projects that will be happening next weekend. And we want to give you a little bit of a heads up about what we're going to be asking for on that impact report. Then Jane will be talking about how to sustain your project. As an active youth volunteer, she has a great perspective that she can share with you all, especially since she's going to college in the upcoming year. Then Luther will discuss the SDG Creative Mapper tool that we will share more about, as long as our Director of Partnerships, Chris Wagner, who's been working with him a lot on that project. And then finally, we're going to have just a quick little handout that we have about project sustainability and some of our final advice. And if you stay around to the end of the webinar, we will have some question and answer where you can ask myself or any of the YSA staff here, or Jane or Luther, any questions you may have. So here's our final to-do list. So I know all of you have hopefully mapped your GYSD project on our map, but that is number one. If you have not done it at this time, please make sure to register your project at www.gysd.org/post. I know we have over 1,000 projects already posted, and we have about 97 countries currently with projects in them. Additionally, I know it's very important to recognize the amazing volunteers and young people you're working with. Whether you're a youth or an organization or an educator, you can find great certificates at gysd.org/promote that you can customize and give out to those participants in your GYSD project. Additionally, we have included a local press announcement, a press release form. It's in the handout section of the webinar, and that'll be a great way to get press involved to help spread the word about your amazing GYSD project. Number 4, make sure you have a sign-in sheet for volunteers. It's important to record email addresses and names and phone numbers so you can continue to engage these volunteers in your community. Number 5, rainy day backup plans. I know for us here in DC it's been raining all day today, and if you do have an outdoor event, make sure you have plans in place if that is to happen. Number 6, select a photographer for the day. This really greatly relates to the impact report that we'll be asking you to submit. We really want to see those great photos that you're taking of the day of the event, and this will be great promotional materials for you to use to recruit future volunteers. Number 7, get your project supplies together. The last couple of days are going to be really hectic, so make sure you know where all your things are and put them in one place and go through them to make sure you can easily throw them in a car, on your bicycle, in a handbag, so you can take those supplies to you on the day of the event. Number 8, one-pager about ongoing opportunities, continued volunteer activities. A lot of you work with great organizations that I know don't do just activities on Global Youth Service Day. Make sure you keep the volunteers informed about how else they can be involved with your organization. Have a one-pager, say advertising events that you'll be doing in May or other projects that will be coming down the road in this upcoming year. Number 9, send out a final reminder to VIPs and volunteers. People have busy lives, so it's always great to send one last reminder to them to remind them about your event, what time to show up, what things to wear, what things to bring, so they're fully prepared to attend your GYSD event. And finally, number 10, report your outputs. So I'll discuss that a little bit more in this next slide. So this is the 2016 Impact Report. We're going to make it as simple as possible, but we really want you to be prepared to describe your project. Some key things we're going to ask that you should hopefully record the day of the event is how many youth volunteers you had, how many people did you help, and how did your project affect the community. These are key numbers that we'd love you to report so that we can share your amazing results internationally. Additionally, like I mentioned, it would be great to have a photographer for the day, so make sure you capture those photos and videos for the event. We'd be more than happy to highlight your work on our website afterwards. So now we're going to have Jane speak for a bit about some of her work with Love a Sea Turtle. It's all you, Jane.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jane Yoon, and I'm going to be talking to you about how to build a sustainable project. So before I get started, I would first like to introduce you to Mr. Daniel Sokolovic. He is an adult advisor board member of Love a Sea Turtle and mentor to me. He is here with me today to answer any questions that you might have about our organization, so please feel free to ask any questions at the end of the presentation. So Love a Sea Turtle is a nonprofit organization that was founded by one of my closest friends, Casey Sokolovic, in 3rd grade after her visit to the Karen Beasley Turtle Hospital. What started out as a small act of baking cookies and raising money for a donation to the hospital has now grown to a nationally recognized organization that serves thousands of youth each year and works beyond the borders of our state. And I've been serving as a Youth Advisory Board member of Love a Sea Turtle for the past 3 years, and I'm so excited for the future of the organization. And here are our social media pages, so if you guys want to check us out, please go ahead and feel free to do that. And next slide, please. So to talk about myself a little bit, I'm 18 years old. I'm a senior at D.H. Conley High School in Greenville, North Carolina. I actually moved to the U.S. in 5th grade from South Korea, and English is my second language. And currently I'm serving as the 2015-2016 National Child Awareness Month Program Youth Ambassador through Youth Service America, representing my state, North Carolina. It has been an incredible experience, and being a part of YSA has really helped me expand my project and my passion to the next level. Next slide, please. Working with Love a Sea Turtle, I started volunteering for their Upstream Downstream Connection summer camp program for the first time 3 years ago. And this is a summer camp program for the underserved youth in my community, where we teach students how to kayak, fish, bike, hike, and teach them about nutrition and water quality for free. And I served as a water quality station leader, and this experience has led me to form an idea of taking this great program into middle schools. So my NCAM project is called River Guardians, and it's an after-school program that engages middle school students in water quality testing and environmental studies, advocating for cleaner drinking water. And after meeting with the K-8 STEM coordinator of Pitt County, I decided to start the program at Welcome Middle School, which is a Title I middle school in my community, as a pilot project for my county school system. And the students that are involved meet weekly after school at a local 400-acre city park nature center called River Park North to perform hands-on water quality testing that they actually get to use to record their data on the World Water Monitoring website. And the program conforms with the North Carolina Science Core curriculum. Next slide, please. And when I initiated my idea and started my planning process, Mr. Sokolovic instructed me on utilizing the SMARTS acronym to develop a successful project. He told me to use my SMARTS. And S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, A for attainable, assignable, R for realistic, T stands for time-bound, and the last S stands for sustainable. Next slide, please. So walking through the acronym, I examined my answers to each question very carefully. I asked myself, do I have a specific plan on how I'm going to carry out my project? Can I measure the data that I collect from the project? Will I have people that I can assign work to? And is my project realistic enough, and do I have realistic goals? And do I have a set time in when I'm going to carry out this project? And most importantly, is this project sustainable? So applying the SMARTS acronym into my project included testing the water weekly and recording the data at a local nature center and on the World Water Monitoring website, fulfilled being specific. And getting the weekly data, number of students involved in my project, fulfilled it being measurable. Figuring out which school, which nature center, and applying for funding and support from various organizations made it attainable, while talking to the K-8 coordinator allowed me to make sure that this was a realistic project. And also making sure that this was being performed during the school year so that it correlates with the NC Science curriculum made it time-bound. And not only making sure that this project will sustain after I graduate from high school, but I made sure that I can manage my time wisely.
This is Dan Sokolovic. I'd like to interject here that when we were going through the acronym, I told Jane there would be no project without the S on SMART because it had to be sustainable. In her senior year, we knew that she would be very busy and that she would be then leaving to go to a university after the year. So she actually worked backwards on that acronym and said, okay, who's going to handle the project each week if I can't go there because I am too busy? How will it be replicated in the next school year? And this is how she really dove into seeking the sustainability part. Who will carry on the project? Will the project operate weekly with her or without her? And could it be funded going into the next year? So she worked backwards. I think it's important to understand that everything she did relied on it being sustainable. So she worked from that end back. I think that's an important note.
Thank you. So next slide, please. Now it's time for you to use your smarts. You have to ask yourself the 6 questions and see if any of them are missing. And those are some of the questions that you might ask yourself again. Next slide, please. So if your goal is to create a project that's sustainable, then that requires planning. However, if you have already started your project and you don't have a sustainability plan, then looking into recruiting younger classmates from your school, organization, and collaborative partnerships can be an option. You can also utilize social media to reach out to other students. So good luck to everyone, and please feel free to contact me if you have any further questions. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Jane. That was a really informative piece. So now we're going to switch over to Luther, who's going to talk to us more about the Youth Action Mapper.
Hello?
Hi there, Luther.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you so much for having me on this GYSD, pre-GYSD webinar. And as Rebecca mentioned from the start, my name is Luther Jeke, originally from Liberia. And currently I'm Atlas Corps Fellow. Prior to my fellowship in the United States, I used to work with an innovation lab in Liberia called iLab Liberia, providing information and communication technology trainings and skills to the young people of Liberia, and also supporting development organizations and the government institutions to relatively use ICT to, support their programming and also develop communities as well. So my passion has been around how do you use technology to create social change? How do you use technology to engage local communities? How do you use technology to support the development agenda of a society? So last year, just a quick backdrop, last year, September, I attended this, Sustainable Development Goal event in Washington, D.C., and there were a lot of discussions with some folks, from the State Department, from the White House, and different entities, and that's where this whole idea of the SDG Youth Action Mapper came about. After a series of engagement, and then but prior to that, we've been having some discussions with Youth Service America as well, in terms of what we could partner on for the Global Youth Service Day. So these discussions started almost half a year back. So that's where this entire thing of the Youth Action Mapper came about, and then a lot of thought process, a lot of consultations were put into this, and then we are currently at this stage. So I'd just like to tell you a little bit about what is the Youth Action Mapper, how can you get involved, how can you take specific actions when it comes to the Global Youth Service Day, and how can you utilize this free state-of-the-art GIS mapping tool to showcase what you're doing in your local communities as well. Great. So basically, we call it the Youth Action Mapper for short, but it's also called the SDG Youth Action Mapper, or SDG YAM for short. And that's the website as you see there. Currently, Creative Associates is leading the coalition, which is kind of a bunch of organizations, the GYSD, the US State Department, Sustainable Data Solution Group, and other interesting organizations that are working towards the youth engagement and mobilization pieces as well. So basically, we're going to use the Youth Action Mapper to empower, young people to generate, analyze, and share real-time information that can help them to showcase their efforts, and also help them to understand what exactly is going on in their community as it relates to the 17 global goals. and how we can showcase those local and grassroots efforts to the global community, so that people are not just thinking, oh, it is the UN or it's these huge organizations who are achieving the global goals, but rather showing that the young people are actually working to achieve the 2030 agenda. Next slide, please. Great. So actually, what is the Youth Action Mapper? So I would just like to tell a little story in terms of, we're trying to roll out a couple of pilots of the Youth Action Mapper, a couple of pilot projects in different countries around the world. So number one of those countries happened to be Liberia, which is where I'm from. So I would just like to tell a little story that will explain the 4 key components of the Youth Action Mapper. Number one, you see educate, we have the engagement piece, and then we also have to engage the point of contacts and then analyze and visualize the data. What do we mean by that? So, if I go to Liberia, I can work with local organizations such as the ILAP Liberia or SDN Liberia and organize a small pilot project to test out the entire model of the SDG Mapper. So I'm going to work with those local organizations to, recruit a bunch of volunteers, firstly educate them about the SDGs, and explain why the SDGs are important to local communities. After you've educated them, you're going to train them and empower them with the mobile app, and how they can go out to collect information about those local youth organizations and initiatives around, for example, Monrovia, the capital. So after they've collected those information about all of those organizations, work with the point of contact at those organizations, what they're going to do next is we're going to do a lot of public awareness and engagement around that global map that they've created, or that map of Monrovia that has all of the SDG opportunities and youth action points that are in and around Monrovia. So after we do a lot of public engagement through radio, through websites, through text message, whatever means, we expect, after a rigorous engagement process, we expect the youth to go on that map and make use of the information that's there to go and take action on Global Youth Service Day or throughout the year as well. And then after the youth go and take action, we want to engage the point of contacts at those organizations and initiatives to make sure we are capturing the level of efforts. How many youths are coming here monthly? What are they working on? How does these activities that they're working on correlate or is associated with each of the 17 goals? So we are going to be collecting a series of data points to understand what exactly the youth are working on, so that we can showcase or buttress government and other international institution effort to show real-time information as to what the youth are interested in, what they are working on, how they are contributing to achieving the 17 global goals. And then in that process, you're going to analyze the data set and visualize it to show from Liberia how many youth in a month contributed to the SDGs and what are the specific SDGs. And we can go to a granular level where we can collect specific indicators as it relates to the 17 global goals. So that's just an example to show that from the engagement of the youth to collect the information and have it on a global map where youth can take action, where they can be engaged and take action. Then we engage point of contacts to capture the level of effort to make sure that we are showcasing to the global communities what exactly the youth are working on, and then use the data for other relevant purposes where we're using that data to showcase the youth effort. Next slide, please. Great. So the Youth Action Mapper is actually an Android app. If you go to the sdgyouthactionmapper.org, you'll see a download button there where you can download the app to your smartphone. Currently, it's only in the Android version. In the near future, we'll roll out the iOS and other versions as well, but currently it's just in the Android version. So if you go there, it's free. You can download the app from that website, and then you install it on your mobile device. What happened is that, once you install it and you open up the app, the first screen you see there with the 17 global goals, you're going to see something similar to that on the first screenshot there. And then you can, create an account, you log in, and then you see the second screen, it tells you whether you've already collected some information about youth organization or not, or whether it's your first time, or if you've collected something. You have a form where you can actually capture information about a specific youth organization or initiative, and then we are creating a global map, at the end on the web that is showcasing all of these organizations. And we are going to use that information to engage those youth organizations later in country to make sure we are capturing what the youth are working on as well. Next slide, please. Great. So, what are we offering? What's the opportunity here for GYSD? So as we go forward, as the GYSD approaches, what we want to do is this unique partnership we already have with YSA. We want to work together, which of course we've been working together since last year, to build this partnership to make sure that the youth are given the right tool to be able to capture what exactly is going on around the world, especially as it relates to measuring the SDGs. So we want to equip you to give you the right tool to be able to, from your communities, so that you can go and use that app to collect relevant information about youth organization, youth initiatives in your community, and have them placed on the map at this stage. And then what we are going to do is that in the coming months, as we build more partnership and design more processes and model, we're going to come back and start to engage each of these youth organizations in their countries to make sure that if, for example, you want to take this forward or a bigger way, that you want to establish a local pilot project in country, we can equip you with the right tool, how you can get in touch with donors and other partners to make it a success. So that's like the next stage. But for the GYSD, we just want to make sure we're already partnering with YSA, and Chris and his really dynamic team. They've made sure and giving us some, the projects that you've already registered on the YSA website. We've already mapped some of them. Chris will briefly talk about that. But basically, we want to make sure that we are collecting the relevant information on the GYSD as one of the action items as well. In addition to what you're going to be doing, you can go and use this app free of charge and map additional projects and have them on that global repository where we can showcase to the global community and show exactly what's going on in your communities as well as it relates to taking action on GYSD Day. So as Rebecca showed at the start, those are my email addresses, and I'll be looking forward to providing more details. We have a whole toolkit that we partner with Chris and his team to develop, and Chris will briefly talk about that, the toolkit, how you can download it, where you can get it from, so that you can just go through the step-by-step method to be able to map or establish your own local youth action mapper project in your community.
Great, thank you so much, Luca.
Thank you. Sure.
So we're going to keep talking about the Youth Action Mapper, but we're going to bring in Chris Wagner, who's the Director of Partnerships here at YSA, who works closely with Luther on this project.
Hi, everyone. The first thing I want to say is if you haven't registered your GYSD project yet, please do that. Go to gysd.org and click, what is it, not promote, it's post it. Click post and map it. As you type in and enter your project registration information, at the very end of the registration form, you'll be able to click a box and describe how your project's going to continue after GYSD. So if there are opportunities for your project to continue into the summer, into the fall, you can describe what those activities are. You can give dates. You can give contact information. And what will happen then is that project will then go up on the Youth Action Mapper, which will be another map in support of the Sustainable Development Goals. And so basically it's a cool, easy way to continue and build on your project after GYSD. It's also a great way to introduce yourself, the youth you work with, or if you're a youth activist, to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And it's there ready for you. If you go to the link at the top of this slide, and we're going to send the slides to everyone who registered for the webinar today, you're going to go to a blog that I just put up today, and it explains in more detail what the Youth Action Mapper is and gives you more of the step-by-steps you need to do in order to utilize it. When you click on the blog, you'll also be able to download the Youth Action Mapper Toolkit. That's the image to the right. This is a 6-page PDF. It gives you step-by-step instructions on how to download the app to your phone, how to map a project, and it also includes activities that you can do on Global Youth Service Day to map other opportunities in your community. So this is something that you'll be able to use after GYSD. It's something you can use during GYSD. And stay in touch with us and follow this, because as the Youth Action Mapper is brand new, we're working with a great number of partners on it, and as it continues to evolve and improve, we're going to be right there with it. Because again, the UN Sustainable Development Goals were just released this year. This is a great opportunity to put Global Youth Service Day in a global context, and in the end, by 2030, hopefully we're going to change the world through these goals, and we're going to start with youth, because if anything that's going to be sustainable has to involve youth. So we're wanting to get all the young people involved in this as we can.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris. So just as a quick wrap-up, we're going to talk a bit about YSA's advice. So this handout is also on the handout section on the right side of the screen. So we talked a little bit about, from Jane, the youth perspective. If you're a young person, you're graduating high school, moving on to college, how do you keep your project going in your community, even if you're leaving? We also heard from Luther and Chris about, if you really want to expand your project, bring it to the global level, connect internationally with these Sustainable Development Goals, and make an even wider impact. And the big thing we really wanted to stress with that volunteer sign-in sheet and those continuing opportunities for volunteers, Global Youth Service Day is, a great 3-day weekend to really recognize the amazing work youth are doing around the world. But there's many activities happening every day, every day of the year. So we want to make sure you're working to make these projects sustainable and that they continue long past Global Youth Service Day. So a couple of our key pointers are: start with the community. We know you're all very invested in the community, so make sure you build capacity locally and then expand globally. Encourage local ownership. That really builds off what Jane was saying, making sure there's a lot of great investment from key community members, other associations, other NGOs, other nonprofits. Provide training. This is very important. I know for myself, I did Peace Corps. It was really invaluable. I knew I was going to be there for only about 2.5 years, so I knew I wanted to do a lot of training for once I was gone from Morocco, people in the local capacity could continue my programs. Also buy locally. There's many times you can help support your local economy and buy a lot of the materials you'll need for your project locally, and that helps your community exponentially. Also, find local funding. YSA provides a lot of amazing grant programs, but a lot of times local governments, hospitals, companies are really happy to help contribute to your projects. I know a couple of sessions ago we did a webinar about philanthropy. So a lot of times you can ask for in-kind donations from local organizations to really help sustain these projects as they continue down the road if you don't have a YSA grant or another larger grant. And then finally, measure your success. Make sure to collect that data. It's really important to report to us and report to your community and report to also the UN towards those sustainable development goals. Use the Youth Action Mapper. Really report and show the amazing work that you're doing to make the world a better place. Just as a final reminder, I want to remind you we have those handouts that are available for download right now. You can get that press release toolkit, the one-pager about sustainability, and also the Youth Action Mapper toolkit that Chris talked about. As well as of tomorrow, we'll post all these resources on our website. So if you go to ysa.org/webinar/resources, on that same blog post that you read about the panelists, we'll include the video from this webinar as well as the slides and the handouts. So you can access those at any time. And then you are more than welcome to email me at rlevy@ysa.org if you miss any of those handouts or have any further questions. And just one final reminder, we're really excited to see you all next weekend, April 15th to 17th, for Global Youth Service Day. Some hashtags that we'll hopefully be using for the weekend are hashtag How Are You Celebrating?, hashtag SDGs, hashtag Global Goals, and then our favorite, hashtag GYSD. You can follow us at Youth Service America on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm going to check really quick to see if there's any questions, and we'll open that up and answer some questions. So it looks like we don't have any questions. I'm going to log off, and a big thank you to all our panelists, Jane and Luther and Dan and Chris, for your great insight, and happy GYSD.